Ex Machina is about a genius programmer winning a week-long stay at his CEO's estate. This programmer, by the name of Caleb Smith, works for the most powerful search engine company online, and Nathan Bateman, his CEO, wants him to test if his newly built AI can actually pass the test as human. The big what if question for Ex Machina is simply, what if AI was indistinguishable from humans? In other words, what if an AI was created so well and so smart that we could not tell it apart from humans? This gives the audience a chance to ask many thought-provoking questions such as, what is being human? What does it take to be human? And if it is empathy or conversations or even seduction, Ava did all this. Now, this idea was so powerful that we saw a scene where Caleb questions his own humanity. He believed so hard that Ava was a human at this point. And being human wasn't about being made of metal or skin or blood, it was actually about consciousness. Now, I find this what if question to be extremely thought provoking because this movie was asking, what if a singularity moment happened right in our backyards and the failsafe failed, which is what happened. Now, Alex Garland made his debut into the film world when his 1996 novel, The Beach, was made into a movie during the 2000s starring Leonardo DiCaprio. And if you star DiCaprio, you're pretty big. Now, Alex Garland believes in the power of subjectivity. Each and every life experience can be perceived in millions of ways by millions of people. That's why his works, a lot of his movies, are up for interpretation. Garland often uses biology, psychology, philosophical ideas of the nature of humans and our existence to explore many what-if questions. By weaving science with the possibilities of conflict and opportunity, what can go right and what can go wrong with discovery? Now, he directed Annihilation, a movie we've all watched, and it's about cancer and self-destruction, sure, but more importantly, it was about a creature so alien. Although we know it's cancer, this movie is depicted in a way we've never seen before. We don't know what that creature is. With Dredd and his post-apocalyptic movie, 28 Weeks Later, he questions how the world would handle such life-changing events in the social and political scheme of things. Now, on to number 4. Are there movie stars? Yeah. I would argue there's 3 big ones. Alicia Vikander in Tomb Raider, Jason Bourne, Oscar Isaac from Addams Family, various Star Wars movies, just as Domhnall Gleeson is, but Oscar Isaac is in Annihilation. He played a wonderful Kane in his performance. Now, I don't think it's the status of these stars, because they're not giant, great stars, essentially. It's the performance and the experience they brought with them from these big movies that they used in Ex Machina. They were amazing actors in this. Now, this movie, back then, was $15 million cost to make, and in today's money, it costed $16.5 million, roughly, to make, and it made in the box office $36.9 back then, and today's money, it's $40.3. So having this gross profit of $24 million is actually making Ex Machina one of Alex Garland's more successful films, because all the other films, they didn't have that big of a profit. Now, to the elements of filmmaking, the production design and cinematography, absolutely amazing. Rob Hardy and Mark Digby did an amazing job. They set the contrasts between the set of pure nature and sleek advanced technology and gave both of those a vast beauty side by side. Now, there are many metaphorical aspects that flow in the film, like the mirroring images of Caleb and Ava. And although this was very beautifully shot, it wasn't the element that was the most standout. Now, similar to what I just mentioned, sound design and editing were also expertly done. All the sounds from the outside to Ava's tone, her voice, to the elegant music played in all scenes was amazing. But the lack of sound is what makes a lot of Garland's films really wonderful. The lack of crazy sounds, crazy edits. It used simple and elegant music to get the same emotion out of the audience. And here we can see.
When it comes to parenting, you're a pro. You know your kid doesn't step around puddles. And you know cheap, leaky diapers are an amateur move. You need Love's Pro Level leak protection. Love's. Parent like a pro.
And I hope you are. Now your micro expressions are telegraphing discomfort.
I am not sure you'd call them micro.
I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
And here's just elegant music over a simple shot. Yet it does very powerful thing. All right, and now going to the directing and acting, as you just saw, amazing performance. The vision and experience that Garland has showed immensely. Vikander's AI performance, because she has ballet experience, helped her intricate movements that put us on the edge of our seats. And Gleason really stole his genius programmer mind, yet coupled with his awkward innocence or innocent awkwardness. And although I had the hardest time choosing between the acting and the script, and I think for a general audience experience, many would have chosen the acting, but I really enjoyed the script. Now, the dialogue between these performers were so powerful, not only in the delivery themselves, but the actual language intricacies. Now, this was said in the beginning of the movie. If I've invented a machine with consciousness, I'm not a man, I'm God. And all throughout the film, each debate or conversation that they had a reference in thought experiments like Mirroring the Black and White Room, the Turing test, a meta-analysis of human treatment of AI when we're talking about Ava and how we even use humane to treat her because she is so human. But the number one thing in the movie that struck my attention was the Jackson Pollock painting, and this is where Nathan Bateman brings him in and explains this painting of how to create.
You know this guy,
AI.
right?
Jackson Pollock.
Jackson Pollock, that's right, the drip painter. Okay, he let his mind go blank and his hand go where it wanted. Not deliberate, not random, someplace in between. They called it automatic art. Let's make this like Star Trek, okay? Engage intellect.
Excuse me?
I'm Kirk, your head's the warp drive. Engage intellect. What if Pollock had reversed the challenge? What if instead of making art without thinking, he said, you know what? I can't paint anything unless I know exactly why I'm doing it. What would have happened?
He never would have made a single mark.
Yes, you see, there's my guy. There's my buddy who thinks before he opens his mouth. He never would have made a single mark. The challenge is not to act automatically. It's to find an action that is not automatic, from painting to breathing to talking to fucking to falling in love.
Now, incredible performance by Nathan Bateman, but now moving on to the critiques. This negative critique, as you can see, misogynistic, femininity, using emotional manipulation, it's too centered on the bias and the lens of an argument of feminism and equality. When the point of having Ava be a woman and her name, Ava, being a reference to Eve, is an allusion to the Bible. This whole film was to express the biblical, all-powerful, and ethical issue of creating man and woman, human or AI, and acting as a god. And it was nothing more than an allusion to the Bible, so I admit it's a fair argument in terms of sure, it might not be appropriate nowadays, and all of the social arguments, but I really think the point of the femininity was to create a tie with God and Bible and this all powerfulness and this ethical issue. But the positive was looking beside the femininity issue and looking at the emotional connection. So when you have a person connecting with a machine, what does that mean in terms of if I have a connection with another human and I have a connection with the machine and it's the same, how are we comparing that machine and that human? And I think this positive critique goes past the female male. It goes past all that. It goes to the intelligence of Ava.